Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Smashy Business Show. Today is, what is the date today? Today is Friday because we have the weekend coming up. I'm already in the weekend mood, but it's 4th of July. It's a national holiday in the US. Everyone knows about the 4th of July holiday in the US. And it's the year 2025, and I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Ward Ahmed, and we've got a packed show for you today. Firstly, we're going to be discussing how, in an extremely big move in the music industry in the Middle East, Amr Diab has switched from Vodafone to Orange Egypt in such a major telecom shakeup. And secondly, Miral, the company which is responsible for building Disneyland Abu Dhabi, has issued a 3 billion dirham tender for Harry Potter themed expansion on Yas Island. And there's this UN expert which is calling Israel's actions in Gaza a genocide. But what is particularly standing out in the story is the fact that she prepared a report of 50 companies that she is holding responsible for this. And finally, Google has launched Veo 3, its AI video tool, in the MENA region on Gemini's app.
Very first story, very big story, coming right from our neighbor Egypt. Amr Diab, the Middle East's biggest pop star right now, to be honest, has officially ended his long-standing sponsorship with Vodafone Egypt and signed a new partnership with rival telecom giant Orange Egypt. The deal concludes a 9-year collaboration with Vodafone, which began in 2015 and ran through to his final campaign with the brand in 2024.
So the switch was made public after Diab notably skipped Vodafone's 2025 Ramadan campaigns. Now, his absence was widely seen as a sign of a decisive split. Now, insiders confirmed that the new partnership with Orange Egypt was orchestrated by Mahanagi, Orange's current chief communication officer. But here's what's really interesting is that she actually originally brought Diab to Vodafone during her time there as the company's chief marketing officer in 2015.
And Orange Egypt launched the partnership with a minimalist campaign. The ad did not feature Diab himself, but instead showed Egyptians of all ages singing his most beloved hits together in unison. The campaign was widely praised for its emotional impact, nostalgic tone, and broad cultural resonance.
Now, the move is being viewed as a pivotal moment in Egypt's telecom advertising landscape, especially as Orange is gearing up to expand its 5G rollout. So the Diab-Orange alliance is expected to be a centerpiece of the company's branding strategy through the coming year.
And lastly, the switch has also sparked broader industry commentary. Egyptian entrepreneur Mohammed El Shafai noted the shift raises questions about the authenticity of celebrity endorsement, saying not everything has to be transactional. After nearly a decade with one brand, Diab's move is prompting reflection on the real meaning behind long-term partnerships.
I think with this story, specifically Majid, what really came to my attention is how, you have these Egyptian founders who basically came out and said that, they posed this question of these long-term sponsorships that, companies are doing with these artists. Are they actually real, and are they actually authentic? If someone is just able to pack their bags after like 9 to 10 years and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go head out and I'm gonna work for your competitor, then was the entire actual sponsorship real and authentic? And while I think that this question is a justifiable question to ask, it does not seem like it does not seem like an accurate question, because in the end of the day, a sponsorship is a sponsorship. I don't think it necessarily means that all of the work that Amr Diab did for Vodafone was not real. I just think that, this is somebody that, has had a successful career for a very long time. If I was Amr Diab and I wanted to retire and Orange Egypt is telling me they're going to give me more money, you best believe I'm going to head out.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would have seen the new movie Air 2023. It's not new. It's new for me.
Yeah.
But it's the story of the salesman who somehow convinced Michael Jordan to sign with Nike, and there was Adidas there. There were so many brands that wanted to sign Michael Jordan because he still hadn't become a star, but he was on his way, and Nike somehow took him. And even till today, we know about Air Jordans. We know these brands because Nike had the idea. I think with Vodafone, and with Amr Diab, I think I'm not like very familiar with the music scene, the Arabic music scene, but Amr Diab has been there for a long time now. How long would you think he has been on the scene like a superstar?
For years, I think
for at
almost
least
like,
a decade or so.
I believe almost
Yeah.
15 years. He's, you know, he has so many icons like Noor al-Ain. But I think, by the way, it's not just the fact that he ended his partnership with Vodafone.
Yeah.
By the way, he also actually ended his partnership with Anghami and Sony Music. So it's such a grand shift because he moved from them and now he's streaming his music through Apple. And I think what was really hilarious for me, Majid, is on the cover that what's it called, Orange Egypt uploaded on their Instagram account to announce that Amr Diab has joined them. It says on the cover, "Khataftuni," meaning you kidnapped me. And allegedly, that's the name of his new album. But I think for me, it stood out because it's almost like they're trying to say that in this like grand marketing coup, we have poached Amr Diab from our competitor, and we finally have him on board. But honestly, and by the way, it's such an iconic partnership. I love Amr Diab. Amr Diab is one of those celebrities. He is not just loved by the Egyptians. He's loved by the entire Arab world, the entire world, in fact. If you ask Westerners, do you know Amr Diab, and you open Noor al-Ain, immediately they're going to know that song.
We also know that song, like Asians also know that song. So it's most probably one of the greatest hits. Just on the basis of this deal, I think it makes sense. I'll give you a sports example. Ronaldo, when he moved for Saudi Pro League, a lot of people like he just came for the money, but he was part of a project. Maybe Orange, in comparison to Vodafone, they're trying to do something. Not saying Vodafone is not doing great. Both brands are equally strong in their capacities. The main thing is that them poaching a big star means they're doing good, and they have the money to like hire a big star to put that face on their brand.
But
it's very interesting. I always want to know how much money would you take to switch a brand. It's like asking Federer how much money would he take to switch from Rolex to some other brand. It's very interesting, the whole campaign that goes behind just convincing a star to stop wearing a certain watch and going to another watch, or wearing a perfume brand, or wearing clothes. It's such a big campaign that goes behind it.
It is, and I think with Ronaldo, you have him being like offered $700 million a year now, I believe. Is
463, exactly.
Oh, okay.
463
million dollars. I just read it online, and the Times of India.
The last report that we did on Smashy Business was 463 million.
Times of India basically said that his new Al Nassr deal includes $700 million, private jets, and 16 personal staff. But I remember I watched this video of Ronaldo on his Netflix documentary, and he was basically saying how like I belong to Saudi Arabia now, and I think the fact that you have someone like Ronaldo saying that, it really comes back to the fact of these long-term sponsorships, these long-term deals, they can be authentic. They can, but I think, you know what it is, Majid? What holds people back from moving, it's their families. Like, I don't think that we're ever gonna see Messi in Saudi Arabia. Like, I'm telling you this from now, it is not happening. No matter how much money they give that man, he is not moving to the Middle East.
He's signed a long-term deal with MLS and the Beckham-backed club, Inter Miami. He holds now some shares also. Reportedly, these business dealings never come out in public, but he holds some part of that club. Like Ronaldo, we've seen that over the years, last 2-3 years, it's been reported that he now owns 5%, 10% stake in Al Nassr, the club. So when you own the club like 5-10%, I don't think you're moving. And Messi to Saudi, I think it will be like one of the biggest cosmic things which will happen if he moves to Saudi Arabia. But Ronaldo is there, so we have one of the best stars in our region. Benzema is there, we have one of the Ballon d'Or winners. Neymar came, not a good stint, but he left. But talking about big things, a very big Abu Dhabi-based developer, Miral, has officially tendered the main construction contract for its highly anticipated Harry Potter-themed expansion at Warner Brothers World, which is in Yas Island, according to a report by Mead. It came out yesterday. The second phase development is estimated to cost between 2 billion dirhams and 3 billion dirhams, or roughly $545 million to $816 million, and will significantly enhance the existing theme park.
Now, the expansion will cover 40,000 square meters and is set to feature 3 new rides, themed dining outlets, retail experiences, and immersive zones inspired by the globally renowned Harry Potter franchise. Now, construction bids are expected to be submitted by July, enabling works that are already in progress, led by NSCC International and Emirates Electrical and Instrumentation Company, while Canadian firm Ellis Dawn is serving as a project consultant.
And this marks the 6th Harry Potter attraction worldwide and the first in the Middle East. Where so many firsts for Abu Dhabi now, adding a major new tourism asset to the UAE's capital. The move reinforces Yas Island's growing reputation as a premium global entertainment destination.
Now, the announcement follows a series of major developments by Miral, including a recent extension of Yas Water World and plans, this is the biggest one, to bring the region's first Disney resort to Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. Now, these back-to-back projects reflect the company's long-term strategy to attract global visitors and position Abu Dhabi as a world-class tourism hub.
As bids come in for the Harry Potter project, industry watchers are focused on how Miral plans to integrate the visiting world into its broader theme park portfolio, which already includes SeaWorld, Warner Bros. Worlds, and the upcoming Disney Resort. The project is expected to be a flagship attraction and a regional game changer. Would you go?
To Harry, of course. By the way, I am so ready. You know that when I heard about how like Disneyland is coming here to the first time, I looked at my family and it's like, I was like, guys, like I promise you all, I'm gonna plan the trip and I'm gonna take all of you to Disneyland. Not only are we gonna visit, but we're gonna stay in the hotel. But I think for me,
spend a whole day.
But you know what it is, Majid? For me, no, honestly, like a good 3 days. I'm doing a hotel stay. I mean it, by the way. I'm like, it's like an aim for me. But for me, Majid, with this entire Disney story, it's so big because, like, think about it. You know, Miral as a company, they sat down with Bob Iger and they're like, look, listen, we will construct Disneyland Abu Dhabi. We will also fund it, you know, and you guys will earn the royalties. And I think that, you know, I know that this is just mentioned as passing news in all these articles, but that is pretty big because it's actually only a few parks that actually own the park itself. And the fact that Abu Dhabi made sure to argue such a deal really does, I think that it really does show you why the economy is so strong, because they make sure that everything is somehow government-led. They make sure that everything is somehow locally led, and I think that does contribute to the success of a project.
Yeah, and adding on what Bert said, so designing-wise, Disney will contribute, but yeah, they'll only earn royalties. The whole park, everything is being funded by Miral Group. It's a very big group. We know about it. If you go to Yas Island, if you go to that specific area where Warner Brothers is, Ferrari World is, where SeaWorld is, all those attractions, and now Disney World coming. Again, I would like to highlight, I don't know what happened to the Las Vegas, the Sphere, not the Las Vegas Fair. It's the only sphere in the world which is in Las Vegas and they're trying to build. But need to find out. We need to soon find out what's happening to that. Because that was one of the biggest announcements also. I remember recently when the Yas Waterworld extension opened, the National did an interview with this Miral Group CEO, Mr. Al-Zabi, and the very interesting thing that I read in that was that they have a 10-year plan. So Miral's 10-year plan till I think 2034, it started in 2024, till 2034, they have a plan to announce at least one attraction every year. So don't sit on Disneyland, don't sit on these 4 or 5 already built properties. You may and you should expect something every year, because according to him, there is enough space on Yas Island to build all these attractions. And I think with Middle East, the very good thing that Miral is doing is that in Middle East, you don't have all of these. You always travel to some other country. You travel to Singapore, you'll travel to China, Japan.
America.
You could travel, America is the most common option, but even if you can't go to America for passports which are not allowed to travel there, and
Yeah,
it's very
my
difficult.
passport is one of them now.
You don't get visa easily. You still have to travel to other countries. You have to travel to other continents. Now in the Middle East, you're getting nearly everything ready, and it's not difficult to travel here. The visa process is so easy. Traveling here is easy.
I saw
Everything is so
something somewhere,
comfortable.
by the way. I was watching this video, and it was basically how this guy was like, "Do you know how important your Emirates ID is?"
Yeah.
And he was basically saying how having an Emirates ID it basically means that you can easily go to Brazil, you can easily go to Georgia, and I
So
was
being
like,
a resident
"This is
of
great."
UAE, being the national, like Emirati, a citizen gives you like access to so many countries. But being a resident itself, even with whatever passport you have, being a resident gives you access to like 4 or 5 countries that I know of. I think Turkey, you can apply visa and they give preference if you're UAE resident, and then you have an Emirates ID. So it's just nice to have this country where you're getting eventually all of the attractions that you go to the world to see. You have to travel like hop continents, hop countries. Everything is going to come
And I
here.
think, you know what, Majid, the reason why they're able to do all of these deals is because of how the UAE is very pro-peace, and we see that with the Abrahamic records and, I mean, accords. And that brings us to our topic of how there is this United Nations special correspondent which has basically accused Israel of committing one of the cruelest genocides in modern history in Gaza. Now, in a report presented to the UN Human Rights Council, Francesca Albanese described the situation in Gaza as apocalyptic and called for urgent international action. But you need to see what she really had to say.
And Albanese, who's a special rapporteur. It's a very difficult word, I know. It's spelled very weirdly. But Albanese is a special rapporteur and she's urged the global community to impose a comprehensive arms embargo. So that's one of the things that she said, that stop selling arms to Israel so they can stop doing the destruction that they're doing, and to suspend all trade and investment ties, because the more trade is done, the more money they get, and the more money they get to buy bombs and then eventually do what they're doing. She warned that Gaza has become a testing ground for Israeli military and surveillance technologies, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. Sorry, well, before you go forward with the next part, this point is a very, the Israeli military and surveillance technology part, it's very important, because we saw recently in France that they were trying to showcase, some of the Israeli companies were trying to showcase some offensive military equipment. They were told to move it, but they didn't move it. That is one case. Another case is where a lot of Israeli military contractors, all the companies which do this, wherever they go, they're telling the people that, oh, these are war-tested equipments. So imagine the level of ruthlessness that they have, that they're marketing their products as war-tested. And they are testing all of that in Palestine. So this point especially has a very big value, what Francesca Albanese said, that they're using Gaza as a playground, literally, where they're testing everything they have, and then they're marketing those products in the broader market that, oh, tested it. So, yeah. It's a very detailed report. You should read it if you're interested.
Now, she also highlighted in the report that 200,000 Palestinians have been killed or injured during the conflict, with experts suggesting even higher figures. Now, Albanese pointed out that Israel has dropped 85,000 tons of explosives on Gaza, approximately 6 times the destructive force used in Hiroshima.
And when we talk about Hiroshima, it's one of the biggest tragedies in the world after the atomic bomb was made. And imagine 6 times more explosives have been like. I can't even imagine what Gazan people go through every day.
But what's interesting here is the companies that have to play into all of this.
And then she also highlighted several multinational corporations, including Microsoft, Amazon, BNP Paribas, and HD Hyundai. And she accused them of sustaining an economy of occupation by continuing business with Israel. The report calls for these companies to be held accountable under international law.
Now, Albanese concluded her report by urging UN member states to enforce strict arms bans and economic sanctions, while appealing to civil society to push for boycotts, divestments, and sanctions. what comes next depends on all of us, she said, emphasizing the global responsibility to respond. And some of the companies, just to name them, that she had in the report included Amazon, Palantir, Microsoft, I believe. I don't remember the other names.
It's a lot of companies, basically. Caterpillar is one of them because they're big giant machines which is used to remove rubble, which Israel is doing. They're bombing the places, removing the rubbles, and then setting up settlement colonies. It's one of the stories that I don't like doing, and I think World also doesn't like doing, because it has such an emotional toll on you. It takes such an emotional toll on you, because when you look at what's happening.
Because it's, you know what it is, Majid? There's also been such, like, I'm going to say it this way honestly, such a bombing of reporting. They keep bombing us with all this reporting, but it's like nothing is changing. You know, nothing is being built, nothing is being put in place. You know, and Netanyahu is still leading Israel. They're still getting Palestinian real estate that they just keep taking, not even buying.
So even before this UN report came, and having the UN name with itself gives it authenticity. But Israel is above all the laws, and we've seen what's happening. But UN report, there was this pension fund, Norway's biggest pension fund, we reported about 2-3 days ago, which cut ties with 2 US-based companies who are supplying military equipment to Israel. Norway banned those 2 companies. They've already banned Caterpillar. They're not investing in them. They held like $1 million stake in one US company, $1.4 million $1.4 billion stake in another company. So the world, somehow, some companies, some multinationals are actually seeing through. These reports are making an effect on them. They're looking at it and they're like, okay, UN Human Rights Commission or UN, this commission says this, we will follow suit. But what Francesca Lebanese basically is saying through this report, through her speech at UNHCR yesterday, is that everyone needs to, otherwise it won't stop. Just a small update, political update, but Trump and Israel, they've signed a 60-day ceasefire agreement and they've sent it to Hamas, and I don't understand even now why they call it Hamas. They've sent it to the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. They just have to sign it, and then we'll have 60 days of peace. But again, we've seen throughout the process that there were times of peace where Israel said they won't bomb, but they still bombed the place. They were like, oh, they attacked first. There was no reports, no concrete proof that Hamas or anyone attacked Israel, but they broke the peace timing and they bombed them again. So the only thing that you can do is just pray as an individual that all this comes down.
Yeah, praying is a really good point.
It's therapeutic, I think, because as an individual, every one of us, whenever we talk about these stories, to be honest, when I go outside after for the next 10-15 minutes, the images go through your head. I know it's a business show and we're being emotional, but I think this is part of the whole scenario. Whichever beat you're reporting from on Palestine, you feel it. That there is something wrong happening.
No, and I think, you know what, Majid, I know that it's like business, but we are allowed to be emotional about things.
We're humans at the end of the day.
And it's like, if you, like, for example, if you take a look at Tucker Carlson, you take a look at Candace Owens, I mean, they'll be talking about something and then suddenly they mention Christ. And, you know, and I think if they're allowed to talk about their religion constantly, then so are we. We're allowed to talk about our religion too. But just to end it on a good note, Google has launched its advanced AI video generation model, Veo 3, across the Middle East and North Africa. Now, it's been integrated into the Gemini app. And Veo 3 basically lets users create custom 8-second videos by typing a simple scene description known as a prompt.
And moreover, Veo 3 is now available to Google AI Pro subscribers. So if you're that, you get access to it in the MENA region. The tool produces high-quality 720p videos. It's still not at 1080, it's still not at 4K. 720 is good enough for streaming. And it has realistic visuals. It follows the rules of physics and has native audio. It will include the audio itself. There's sound effects, there's dialogues it can do, there's ambient noise without extra editing.
And this launch opens new doors for MENA creators, offering one of the most sophisticated AI video tools worldwide. VO3's combination of video and sound generation enables fresh creative possibilities for storytelling. And we see it how real the Arabic is. I mean, it is actually accurate, even in different dialects.
Yeah. And to promote transparency, Google embeds a hidden synth ID watermark in all AI-generated videos. Soon, a visible watermark will also be added for most users, except Ultra members using Google's Flow filmmaking tool, helping audiences identify AI content.
Now, Google also plans to expand access to its Synth ID detector, a tool which is basically designed to verify AI-created media, which, to be honest with you, I don't think we really need. I think we can all tell when something is AI.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when this video is basically going around, it was a fake AI video of this Al Arabiya presenter, which is, and he's a very famous presenter, by the way. I was watching him on TV like yesterday. And the video is basically how Zelensky bought an apartment in Burj Khalifa, I believe. But Majid, like, just to discuss Gemini and how late Gemini was released. So Google, as a company, is owned by Alphabet. And apparently, due to the fact that Gemini was released so late after OpenAI by Sam Altman, they have since then lost $96 billion in value. I think that it's great to be seeing these advancements. I think that VO3 specifically is really going to change things for Google, but I think the fact that they came so late into this has cost the company so much money.
Yeah. And now we have an interview with a very interesting person.
Do stay tuned. We have Christopher Richter coming up. Today on the show, we're joined by Christoph Richter, Head of Business Development for the Middle East at Figment. Christoph spent nearly 20 years in global banking with firms like JP Morgan, Barclays, UBS, and MUFG before co-founding the crypto trading venture Vol Capital. Now based in Dubai, he's leading Figment's institutional staking expansion across the MENA region and Turkey. Christoph, welcome to the show. It's so lovely having you today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And, you know, just to start, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, absolutely. So I joined Figment as the head of business development for the Middle East, Turkey, North Africa. Figment is the largest independent staking provider with more than 700 institutional clients and more than $15 billion of assets under staking. We'll get to what staking is in a moment because I think it's often misunderstood. And yes, you introduced my background quite well. So I come from traditional finance, primarily derivatives. What I did for nearly 20 years, I got into crypto digital assets about 8.5 years ago. And ever since I started researching Ethereum and Bitcoin, I was hooked. I loved it. And really what fascinated me was that intersection of finance and technology. And,
you know, just to start, you know, why should we be hooked on staking and what is it?
Absolutely.
What really is it?
This is a great question. So allow me to use an analogy to explain what staking is. You imagine you're using your laptop. You have two different operating systems, primarily iOS or Windows. They both do the same thing. They allow you to control your laptop. However, they work very differently. So similarly to that, in digital assets, you have effectively proof of work and proof of stake. These are two different methods of verifying transactions on the blockchain. Proof of work is known primarily from the Bitcoin blockchain. It is the process where miners are mining blocks. They are solving cryptographic puzzles, and for winning the next block, they're being awarded Bitcoin. Proof of stake is the evolution of proof of work. It's vastly more energy efficient, and it's a process where token holders are locking up their tokens as collateral to secure the network. And in return for securing the network, for verifying, validating transactions, they are receiving a reward. And this reward is being paid out in newly minted tokens. And what Figment does is to make your staking experience seamless and easy.
Right, and you know, just with Figment, what me and Majid are really curious about is why did Figment why did it decide to expand into the Middle East and specifically the UAE?
That's a great question. The UAE particularly and the wider Middle East is in an inflection point in terms of digital asset adoption. particularly here in the UAE, there's been some major developments in the last, I would say, 8 to 9 months. We had, for example, the back end of last year, Mubadala Investment Company investing almost $450 million into BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF IBIT. You had in recent months both Emirates NBD and First Abu Dhabi Bank rolling out a crypto offering to their clients. And you also had the announcement, of course, of Figment and Tungsten in their partnership. And all of this comes on the back of a very strong digital asset framework, which you have in Abu Dhabi Global Markets, the DIFC, and of course the Virtual Asset Regulation Authority, VARA. And the UAE has really taken a leadership, if you wish, in digital asset regulation.
And as you said, UAE has taken a leadership. I remember recently Circle listed in the US, and the president was like, UAE people from VARA, we took a lot of help in creating the laws and how Bitcoin should be regulated in the US also. That was a very nice statement. But you've been appointed, takeover, you've been appointed in this role. What is your focus? So you've been brought on with so much experience in traditional finance, and how do you come into this picture with Figment, with everything that's going on?
Yes, it's really two things. It's education and partnerships. Education breaks down into two different things. It's first of all helping investors understand what is staking. So Figment does a lot of work around thought leadership, seminars. We show our product live that highlights how easy it is to stake the tokens. And then the second part of education is more specific to the region because staking is considered Sharia compliant. So very interestingly, it's not interest nor yield that you're receiving. So there's no concept of riba in staking. And the second thing is that staking returns are not fixed, right? And it's also considered halal from the perspective that there's no underlying loan, right? So it ticks a lot of boxes for the Islamic finance world. And then partnerships obviously is very important here to develop the local partnerships, particularly because the commitment to the region is very important for local investors, and this is one of the reasons why I was the first hire for Figment here. And it's been really exciting to be honest.
I'm really curious. You just said that you're the first hire. That's amazing, by the way. Being the first hire and managing the business development, what specifically do you manage in Figment?
So effectively, I am the point person for any kind of requests about how to stake your tokens for the institutional investors. We are the ones, looking to develop the partnerships in the region. We can talk about a little bit how it breaks down the different types of clients that we're servicing as well. And the other task is really about creating the brand awareness of the solution. Figment has been doing staking since 2018, so basically since the very beginning, and it's been one of the leaders ever since.
Yeah, and what makes staking relevant for long-term digital assets? Since we're talking about it, and I see institutional investors really going into it. Not retail. Is there a market for retail, if you can throw light on that, but institutional investors mostly?
Absolutely. So I think it's a really terrific question. Why would you stake, right?
Yeah.
So again, working with an analogy, in traditional currencies we experience inflation, right? With regards to, for example, Bitcoin, there's a finite supply. However, the majority of digital assets, they do experience inflation as well. And staking is one of the simplest way of protecting one's investment against inflation, right? So it allows you to generate rewards that outpace the inflation, so that your nominal and relative token count basically increases as the supply increases. Speaking quickly on the second part of your question,
Yeah.
so staking is really available also to anybody that would like to do that. Figment collaborates, for instance, with Ledger Live, etc. So there's a different ways of getting involved here, and particularly when we talk about the different client groups, exchanges, of course, is a big focus of the company.
And just like speaking about the different clients, when we were talking outside, Christoph, you were telling me about how you've worked in so many markets and so many countries. And what I'm so curious about is what specifically stood out to you in the Middle Eastern market, would you say?
I would say it's the curiosity to learn. I think it's a very ambitious country, the UAE, and with that ambition comes intellectual curiosity, which is a very important combination. And people are not afraid to be thought leaders. People are not afraid to innovate, and I think these are really key parts of doing business here. And this is why I say, for us, a lot is about educating investors and helping them understand what staking is all about.
And just to develop on that, do you have a specific experience, a specific story that, like an example of what you're specifically saying?
Yes, so I met a large investor recently, and he had the conception that staking involved lending, and I explained to him, no, actually, you even keep the tokens in the wallet, and I think this is really one of the things that is commonly misunderstood. Staking is non-custodial, right? So it's a very important part for your risk management that you're just delegating the access to the tokens purely and exclusively for the staking, right? So you're not sending your tokens to somebody else, you're not giving up control over the tokens. And that conversation developed really quickly, and it was interesting to see how open-minded the individual was and saying, hey, I totally got this wrong, but I'm really happy we got to talk, and we had a few follow-up conversations since.
And do you see staking becoming a core component of institutional profiles? Will eventually we see big people, like big institutions?
Yeah.
We talked about BlackRock ETFs.
Yeah.
Do you see them coming into it and it becoming a giant, another new giant?
It is a great question. So as it stands right now, only 30% of all Ethereum are staked, and only around 70% of all Solana are staked. And these are the two largest proof of stake networks. So it shows how much potential there's still in the market. You just picked up on a very important point around ETF issuers in the US. So as regulation develops, we will see people, and particularly ETF issuers, moving into staking and being able to offer a return to their investors. So I think it's a really interesting point to be involved in the staking business, because I believe that we're at an inflection point, the sort of like steep end of the hockey stick, if you wish.
And just on the topic of staking business in different markets, how would you compare staking business in the UAE to other markets in the world?
So the UAE is really driven by long-term investors.
Right.
You have obviously an unprecedented concentration of wealth in this country from both an institutional but also from a private perspective. In countries, for example, like Turkey, the adoption of digital assets is really a necessity, right? So the Turkish lira, 12 years ago was probably around 1.8 to the euro. Now we're talking about 45 to the euro. So you had a 95% devaluation of the currency, and individuals need to find ways to protect themselves against that devaluation. So this is really then a different motivation to be involved in digital assets. It's about covering your basic needs and avoiding that the devaluation of the currency eats up all your savings.
And you recently announced a partnership with Tungsten.
Yes.
And that was like one of the big things, one of the big topics. How does this collaboration work? And can you tell us a little bit about Tungsten also?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Tungsten is the largest local digital asset custodian.
Nice.
A custodian is somebody that helps you to safekeep your digital assets. We all know the stories about people losing their private keys and these type of things. So custodians effectively do that work for you. They help you to safekeep these assets. And Tungsten is the local market leader. Figment is the global market leader in staking. And it's really sort of your second question. So the first question is, as a digital asset investor, how do I make sure that I keep my asset?
Yeah.
And the second question is, how do I generate a return on investment in the safest way possible? And this is where staking comes into play.
Nice, nice, nice.
And what we want to know, and
Yeah.
what the audience would like to know too, is what is next for Figment, would you say?
So Figment is very focused on always innovating and rolling out networks. So at this point in time, we've got around 50 different networks that we support. The Web3 or digital asset space is very innovative. There's a new product being launched every day. So we will continue to focus on supporting new and exciting projects. And then obviously what we talked about earlier is that, a lot of Ethereum and Solana, for instance, remain non-staked. So it's
Yeah.
about how do you unlock this hidden potential, and this is again one of the reasons I was hired here in the Middle East. We've got teams in basically all the different areas of the world: LATAM, APAC, Europe, and of course the US and Canada. So I think that will be a very big focus around as the institutional adoption of digital assets accelerates. How do we become forefront of the clients' minds and help them to achieve rewards for their assets?
Any message from your side to institutional investors? Because I think the more focus is on institutional. Any message from your side that you want to give about staking, about Figment as a whole?
Absolutely. If you are an institutional investor and you hold digital assets, staking should be at the forefront of your mind. Figment is the most compliant and largest independent staking provider in the market, and we would love to have the conversation with you and help you to generate low-risk returns on your investment.
Christoph, it was lovely learning about Figment and staking from you, and thank you so much for watching, everyone. This is Christoph, Richter for you, Abdelmajid, and Ward Ahmed. This is Smashy Business Show, a Smashy Business production under the Augustus Media Podcast Network. See you all tomorrow.